ignore the timer at the bottom. I'll dismiss that so you can keep going throughout the
I am
presentation.
so sorry about that. I am so
No
sorry.
worries.
This has been very weird. Awesome. Cool. Thank you so much, Jason, Christopher, Steve. I am really excited, and I finally made it. I think through my phone. If you look at my setup, it's really what founders really do. We're trying to figure stuff out as they go. But hi, everyone. I am Arjita Sethi, and today the topic that we decided collectively to talk about for me was the future of innovation, a founder-centric universe. And I cannot tell you how important it is to say this to founders, because we go in thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, and all the time we feel we're dependent on our customers, our employees, our investors, and we're being pulled apart in different directions. And yes, we chose this life and we chose to do this, but also the fact that I want anyone who goes into this industry, who goes into solving a problem, goes with the fact that yes, they do have some control over what is going to happen, and there's not just one path to do that. So really quickly, my introduction: I'm Arjita Sethi. I started my first business at 16 in India. My first angel investment was at 29 in Silicon Valley, and then I got venture backed when I was 30. Our first investors came from Finland, and then early investors of Oculus and Silicon Valley investors came in as well. I sit on the advisory board of the NASDAQ's Entrepreneurial Center, and I teach entrepreneurship at San Francisco State and Holt International. And feel free to connect with me. I'm pretty active on Instagram and LinkedIn, and I'm beginning to do a little bit of Twitter, but it's hard to keep up. But today, I just want to share a little bit of my journey. I just want, I've started a couple of initiatives and I learned a couple of lessons through that. And I just want you all to walk through that journey with me today. This is one of my favorite quotes. Build something 100 people will love, not something 1 million people will kind of like. And the reason for that is, yes, we want to build something that is going to make us reach that $1 billion status, that is going to make us reach that billion people status. But honestly, the first job as a founder is not to reach 1 million people. The first job as a founder, as an entrepreneur, is just to understand, who are you building this for? Are people really liking what you're doing? Do they love your product? Do they love your approach? Do they love your solution? And I want you to think about this, because this is that why. A lot of people think the why is the passion within me. The why is that, I'm going to change the world. The why is the purpose I'm living. No, the why is you have convinced at least 100 people to love what you do. And let's start with my first company that I started. The first company that I started was the School of English. It was a vocational school. It was a physical entity. We reached about 10,000 people a year, and it was a cross-subsidization model. I'm sharing all this information. I don't generally share all this internal information about my companies, but I know this is a founder space, and I know the ethos and the values behind this summit. And that's why I'm sharing this openly, because I think founders need to know. So it was a cross-subsidization model. What that meant was impact was at its core. So the people who could not afford to pay a fee, they wouldn't pay, and the people who could afford would pay on a sliding scale. And that way we became very profitable very early on. It was a small business. It was a social enterprise. The problem with this was you couldn't scale. That institute, that building could take only 10,000 people. And we did find a product market fit, but I don't think we could have replicated that model anywhere else, because it was a very, very unique system set up, and the teachers and everybody that we brought together. And that was my first lesson, that it is easy to set up a business and get the shop running, but it is really difficult to start thinking about scale. So after you find the 100 people that you love, that's when you need to start thinking about scale. The next business that I started, and the next nonprofit that I started here in San Francisco, was School of Games. It was basically a digital game that would teach basic literacy. We reached 12,000 users. It was free. And we thought, we could monetize the data, not in the bad way, the way companies do, but more so around governments could buy this data to improve student learning outcomes, all of that could happen. Became a semi-finalist in the $15 million X Prize by Elon Musk. But the problem was too many people were doing what we were doing. There was no differentiation. Every other product was a kid's app. And we realized there is just no differentiation. We are not required in the market. So we took a step back and we stopped and we moved on from there. And that was another lesson. Why are you doing this? Are you doing this? I remember when Clubhouse came in, everybody started building the next audio social platform. That's not how things work. Yes, there is a timing. Yes, right now, Web 3.0 blockchain, the timing is right, but that doesn't mean you need to exist. You really need to exist because you're a human. You're trying to solve that problem. It took us a couple of years to understand that and really practice what we were trying to preach at that time and take that step back. So that is something that you need to understand as well. There are times when you need to just step back and say, hey, maybe it's not the right approach. Maybe I need to recreate something, because the next product that we created was equally. Jason, can you go to the next slide? So this is us becoming the semi-finalists. You can see us on the left-hand side corner. It was called School of Games for the Global Learning X Prize. It was like really amazing. We thought we were going to solve and change the world. We couldn't. It wasn't something out of the world. Jason, the next slide, please. Thank you. But then we started Equally. Equally is a benefit corporation based out of San Francisco. We have a pipeline of 40,000 users, and we are venture-backed. Our research happens in Finland, and Equally is basically an edtech company. It's Pokemon Go for education. We are a subscription model, and although we have got our product market fit, we got venture-backed, the tech that we're trying to build is just not possible. Maybe it'll be possible 2 to 5 years from now. Maybe when technology catches up with augmented reality, but the tech is just not ready yet. And we have to be honest about it, because I could be selling a dream, and I could be saying that, hey, this is what is going to change education. And I know this will, our vision will. But this is something that cannot be built overnight. Over the next decade, we will be building more of it, and whenever the tech is ready. So that is happening with most of the industries today. At the helm of entrepreneurship, we have AI, we have blockchain, we have AR, VR, and we have 5G. Many of those do not have many use cases. And let's be honest about that. As a founder, we need to be really honest, at least to ourselves, and truthful, that maybe we're not ready yet. And this was our working prototype, the picture that you're seeing right now on screen. This is a working prototype. This is something that is being used across the world by kids, and they love the product, but we are nowhere close to the radical learning outcomes that we wanted our kids to have. And I'm sharing all this very candidly with all of you, because it's important for me to share that failure is a big part of this journey, and it will keep happening. And on the basis of this failure is how I learned and created New Founder School. And New Founder School is an LLC. It is 18 months old, and we have had 500 founders from 40 countries. And this year we took this conscious decision of making it 100% free. Just focus on the impact, help founders launch something, help founders go ahead, build something, and let's make it free. No equity, nothing. But here's the thing, it's not a scale market, it is a niche market. But is this really a startup? Is this something that is going to be funded, that is going to make millions and billions of dollars? Who's to say? AngelList today is also valued at a very good valuation and have raised $135 million. And they started off being absolutely free for founders, right? So what I want you to focus when you're starting out is just figuring out your proof, whether or not you are able to get people to really like what you're building. And I want you to think about these 5 things. The first one is niche versus scale. Now, because we go with the mindset that we have to get funding, we're always talking about the TAM Samsung, which is apparently billions and millions of people. And I've done that too. I have my slides where I try to raise money, and I said, 1 billion kids in the world is my TAM. And, 30 million, 40 million kids in the US is my SAM. I've done that. But here's the thing. You need to be honest with yourself, and this is in your control. just the decision that you need to raise VC money shouldn't push you towards scale. Maybe you are a niche market, and that's okay. And there's this book by Hemant Ganeja called Unschool. I really want you to read that. Jason, just can you stick on that slide? Sorry, the previous one. Jason, can you go back to the previous slide? Okay, yeah, that's one. Thank you. The second thing that I want you to understand is, and really research this, is why isn't the problem solved yet with the competitors? So just because there are competitors doesn't mean you need to exist. You need to understand why the issue isn't getting solved yet. And that's the same thing. A lot of founders are scared getting into markets that have a lot of people. But if you have a clear differentiation, go for it. Because you would bring the perspective that no one else has, and that is essential for innovation. The next one is impact. Great, you are loving the problem that you're solving, you're really passionate about it, but do your customers care about that problem as much as you do? And this is the moment of truth again for a founder, where you have to really understand, yes, I want to go ahead, reach a lot of users, but can I really solve this problem for them? And are they ready to pay for it? Are they ready to solve this for them? Is this something that they're okay living with? So this is something that is very, very important as a founder to understand as well. The next is business models. And this is the coolest thing that has come in the past 5 years that I feel, where there are no more traditional business models. There are no more just subscription models. There are no more just one-time buy models. I mean, how many of us ever thought that Stitch Fix and Rent the Runway clothing could be a subscription model? Apple it just came into the news literally 12 hours ago that they're thinking about subscription model for their iPhones. Who would have thought that you can just get iPhones as a subscription model? So think about business models in different ways from parallel industries. But then again, I want you to go back on your niche versus scale. When Khan Academy started, Sal Khan started it for his cousins. It went really big. They did not expect it to go really big. The same thing for most of the companies when they started. They wanted to do it only for their own niche audience. Patagonia started only for mountaineers. And they went ahead and became really big and accepted brand around the world, more in US, but everywhere around the world. So think about innovation. There is so much that you can learn from so many different industries. As founders, we get stuck in our silos, and we just want to go ahead and give our product 10% cheaper than our competitor, and we think that would be innovation. That's not innovation. And again, we think that is the right answer to give to a VC. VCs are open for listening to some innovative ideas. The last thing I want to talk about is conscious leadership. My co-founder and I had a burnout in 2019. We lived that startup Silicon Valley life where we would work 18 to 20 hours a day, and we were just trying to hustle, trying to raise money, trying to launch products, do all of that. It did not work well. And I'm glad it does work well for a lot of people, and they thrive in that type of a culture. It did not work well for us. Now, here's the thing. You as a founder get to choose that culture. And I, as an immigrant founder, thought it was really difficult for me to take that chance to go ahead and call the shots and say, no, we're not going to be raising money like this. We're not going to be burning cash. We'll do this slowly, and we'll take care of ourselves. It took me my burnout to actually say, no, this is not how things are going to work. And that's why I want to share this resource, The Minimalist Entrepreneur by Sai Livia, who is the founder of Gumroad. Phenomenal way of thinking about entrepreneurship. Somebody who's raised money from almost every big name in Silicon Valley, and how he talks about his journey around creating a better culture around entrepreneurship. Please read it. This is something that you can start from day one. This is not a race, it is a marathon. You need to take care of yourself. And one of our earliest investors who signed us our first $50,000 check was an angel investor and said, so as founders, are you going to pay yourself a salary? And we were like, no, we're not going to pay. That's the first thing that all founders say. We're not going to pay ourselves. Everything's going to go into development. It's only going to be focused on the growth of the company. And he said, I'm going to pull out my check. because if you're not paying yourself and you are the most important asset right now in the company, you don't have anyone else, you're going to burn out and you're going to go ahead and not be able to run the company. It did end up happening that way. So he was right. Take care of yourself. Even if you have to pay yourself a living wage, please do that. But here are the problems with entrepreneurship. And I know I gave you a lot of lessons, but also, the system's broken. We need to take care of it. The first thing is user and customer conundrum. Who is the real customer? If I'm giving it for free, then to a user, then they're a user. They're not a customer. Then who is the customer? And this is something that most of the founders don't think early on. In edtech, most of the people think the user is the customer, but the schools are paying for it, the government is paying for it, the parents are paying for it, the end user isn't even paying for it. So the way you build your product has to satisfy a lot of different stakeholders, and that is something that we don't teach founders. Yes, your customer is your customer, but your user also is your customer. The same things happen when you have a gaming platform, when you have ads, when you go ahead and build a social network. So that is the first problem around entrepreneurship. I think there needs to be this awareness of who exactly is the customer. The second one is real feedback. And I'll tell you a couple of instances. The first thing, when I was raising money, people would say no to me left, right, and center, but they would never tell me why they're saying no to me. So there's no room for real feedback. And then if I went to coaches and I went to people who were preparing me for fundraising or mentors, they would charge equity and money. So I wasn't really sure that, are they giving me good, real advice? Is this really going to help me? And that's why I feel there's this real gap of giving some honest feedback to founders. We're tough people. We can take it when things go south. We can take it if you think our business is not okay. I don't know why people want to sugarcoat that. But here's the thing. Tell us what the problem is so that we can fix it. And that is something we do not see enough within the entrepreneurship world. So that is something that I wish gets solved. We're doing that a little bit at New Founder School as well, but that's the next one. The last thing is speed push. There's this constant state of FOMO that happens. You have to be in a startup hub wherever in the world. You have to raise money in 6 months. You have to have your CTO in place. You cannot raise money if you don't have a tech co-founder. You have to go through Y Combinator, and otherwise you cannot. So I really want you to understand that this is something that you can escape. This is totally in your hands. With equally, I had to accept that technology hadn't reached there. I have to accept that the next products are going to come out probably in the next decade, not before that. Technology isn't here. But these are some honest things that we had to ask, which meant we couldn't fundraise anymore. So we have to bootstrap. How do we do that? We had to think about alternate ways. But speed isn't everything. And honestly, more often than not, it burns you up. So think about that as well. And don't get into FOMO. Can you go to the next slide, Tracy? Thank you so much. So what's going to happen? The next big impact, I am bullish on these 5 industries. This is where I am thinking about all my angel investments. This is where I am advising startups. This is where I think people are going to be creating and changing the world. Affordable healthcare, education, blockchain, fashion, all of these industries are the ones that I think are really going to change the next decade and how we live. So if you have an idea here, please go ahead and build it. And think about just solving something for 100 people in the beginning, and then go about scale. Build some cool stuff. Tinker a lot. Break things a lot. Jason, can you go on to the next slide, please? The best thing is you can dream big. There are 10,000 types of legal structures at this point. Alone, just in US, you have the benefit corporation, you have the B corporation, you have the LLC, you have the C corporation, S corporation. The amount of flexibility that a founder has to have control over your own company is phenomenal at this point. Now the option is not just C corporations. Many founders are choosing to go the LLC route because they don't think they need to raise a big VC round and they want to go public. Most of the companies are choosing to get the B Corp certification because they want to be close to the impact that they have. When we were trying to raise money as a benefit corporation, which means we are a C corporation with attached to a mission, it was difficult initially, but over the period of years, I've seen how investors are aligned with this thought as well, and they are supporting founders who are choosing this route. So we'll see. Again, the power is in your hands. Don't feel that you have to figure this out, but figure this out with the right help. Get the right legal help and support early on. I'm not saying the moment you have an idea and need to have a company, please don't do that, but get the right experts to guide you. When is the right time to do what? The second thing is don't go overboard trying to protect your IP and trademarks so early in the process as well. So much is going to change in your first 18 to 24 months of business that you might end up wasting a lot of money. And the last thing, don't be scared of sharing your idea. Idea is just that, it's an idea. Everybody has a very different interpretation of an idea, and they do not know your execution strategy, and that is the most important thing. Facebook is meta today. Nobody would have ever thought that they would be the ones that would get into VR and the metaverse, and they just announced Instagram is going to be an NFT platform. Your company is in your hands. Who can beat them? They are way ahead of their time. So even if anybody tried to create a social network, they have gone beyond that. They will be the winners all the time because they're 2 steps ahead of people who know that information. So remember that. Go ahead, share your ideas. Funding tools. VC money, I know it's a great money. Angel money is a great money, but there are other options like Gumroad, like Backstage Capital. You have crowd equity. You can do up to $5 million of crowd equity. And this is such an awesome way for founders, especially who love to build community. If you like to build community, then you would be able to do crowd equity because the people really get a stake in your company as you're building it. This is a very, very fascinating way of raising money. I remember in 2016, we did a crowdfunding campaign. Crowd equity wasn't mainstream there. And our first 156 parents were our backers, the ones that tried our first prototype. So we did not have to go ahead and spend money on marketing. They loved the campaign so much they became our first 156 paid users. Again, you have grants, corporate sponsorships. They come with a lot of strings attached that you have to only use their technology to build stuff. But I think, again, if you can go ahead and save your equity early on as a founder, please do that. The worst decisions come when we are most vulnerable and we do not have enough proof and confidence in our own idea. We've been crushed left, right, and center while we see that at the end we just take a check. That was just a check, and it was a very bad check. I know I've taken some of those. So please understand. Go ahead if you're getting into entrepreneurship. Get into entrepreneurship when you do have the psychological and financial security to go and take this marathon, to go and survive this marathon. Because if you do not have that, it is not the right time. First, build that security, that network around you. Can you go on to the next slide? Thank you so much. All right, why now? Why are we talking about this now? Why is this the right time to be an entrepreneur? First of all, you do not have to worry about underlying tech. You can create an MVP, a prototype, a basic version of your product, and get paid for it using a third-party tech. You can go ahead and get validation using a third-party tech. You do not need to just be a person wearing this startup hoodie, sitting in a garage, coding something. Yes, you need a great tech. If it is a completely tech product, you do need that. But you do not have to wait for it to start working and building your product. There are multiple third-party options. You don't have to worry about being cash rich anymore. You do not need $1 million to just get something up and running. There are so many subscriptions and products and people who are trying to help founders. that you do not have to be somebody who is rich to put their own money all the time. And lastly, you do not need to be in physical spaces anymore. I mean, we're talking about this, my laptop shut down and I am on my phone and Jason's helping me with the presentation and things are still working. You're still making this work. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. You do not need to be in a physical space. You do not need to be in Silicon Valley to be actually making those connections. You can be anywhere in the world. And if you are not taking this opportunity at this moment to build something that you're excited about, then I think it's a long road. I think you really need to go ahead and start thinking about entrepreneurship really seriously. And with that, if you can go on to the next slide, listen, I want to conclude my talk today, and I am here and open to connecting with any one of you. Let me know if you have any questions. Thank you so much for adjusting with my time madness and everything. I really wanted to go as fast as possible. But this is me, Arjita Sethi, and thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here, Arjita.
Yeah, amazing job. Looks like from all the comments, everyone else also really appreciated everything you shared today.
Yeah,
so,
I'm a fan. Definitely a fan, Jason.
We got Steve as a fan here up on stage.
Steve is really sweet. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. No, I think amazing presentation and definitely relatable to a lot of the startup founders in our community and everybody that's listening. So yeah, really want to thank you for a great wrap up to the conference here. And once again, shout out everybody, all the amazing speakers, panelists, attendees we've had throughout the day here, and everybody that's helped share and promote and make this possible. So this is our first Venture Forward Summit. It's not going to be the last one, and really want to have all of you back and continue the connections, continue the support everyone's given each other throughout the day, and we'll venture forward.
All right.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone.
And Steve and Chris, anything you want to wrap up with? You guys did a great job, getting everybody out.
I did?
And making sure everything went smoothly here.
I don't know about that. I did. I tried. I just wanted to echo your sentiments. I also wanted to speak just a little bit about New Founder School and why we had Arjita here. So when Prepare for VC makes partners, we do it on a very deep and meaningful level. We're looking for people, places, and things that really resonate and align with our core values, of people and process and proficiency and purpose. What Arjita is doing is something that's really never been done before with the concept of New Founder School. We're very proud and happy to support her and all of the things she's doing to really make entrepreneurship available for everyone, no matter, like she said, no matter where they happen to be in the world. Yeah, it's hard. It's very hard. I also burned out in 2019, incidentally. But here we are again, and it's 2022. We're all part of this summit, and yeah, I mean, it was a great day. We had so many fantastic speakers, so many fantastic founders. What do you think, Chris?
I think the thing that I'll say lastly, for me at least, is what we wanted today to be was two things: an introduction to the amazing people and organizations that we scour the planet for day after day. Because if there's any one message that you could take away from the time that you spent here today, whether it was 5 minutes or 5 hours, is that this shit is not easy. And if you don't have the right people around you, there's a very good chance that it's not going to go how you want it to go, or how you perceive it to go, or how you see it going. You have to have the right people around you in order to do things that mean something to everybody else, including yourself. And so I'm really proud of the fact that we have the partners and the subject matter experts and the organizations that we partner with, people like Arjita and Gust and David Rose and all the people that you heard speak here today, they are the reason that this happened, period. The second reason is because today we really wanted to showcase this event as a tangible result that embodies what the Oasis is, the community. It is a place of support. It is a place of value and sharing perspectives and sharing insights and pitching and learning and progressing and growing and taking breaks and networking and communicating and meeting people in places that you had no idea even existed until you came here today. And that applies to the time scale of whether you're here for 5 minutes or 5 hours. The same thing applies. You met people and were doing things with people that you probably never knew existed before today. This event was something that was supposed to represent in a tangible way what the Oasis is and the reason why we have spent a long time, a lot of hours finding the right people in order to help create it. And to the team, the Prepare for VC team, my brothers and sisters that are involved in helping put this together, super grateful for you guys, appreciative of the hard work and the support and the effort. And every day that went by that we were getting 1 hour, 1 minute closer to doing what we did today, it gave me more energy to continue doing the things that I'm supposed to do and responsible for doing in order to make this happen. So with that, thank you. I am complete.
It's a wrap. Thanks everyone for joining us. And yeah, you'll see a follow-up conference wrap-up from us pretty shortly over the next week here, and we'll keep the conversations going.
Okay. Venture forward.